So I struggled with my weight for quite a bit of time. Then in around a 6-month time frame, I managed to lose fat and get down to a low body fat percentage, losing my lower belly fat in the process. I realized that from certain areas of my body like my face, arms and legs, fat came off pretty fast. But when it came to my belly, and especially my lower belly, it took quite a long time. I actually reached a point of plateau where my lower belly fat just wouldn't go. I'm going to explain to you guys in this video how I finally managed to lose it. But first, I'm going to talk about why most people struggle when it comes to losing their lower belly fat. And if you're watching this right now, I'm guessing you also have that issue. So unfortunately, you can't spot reduce fat. You can't just tell your body, I want to lose fat from here, because that's not how it works. Your genetics determine where fat is the first to go and the last place you lose it from. In my case, I have Asian or Indian genetics, and we tend to store the majority of our fat around the midsection and less around the arms and legs. Therefore, our belly is the first place to store fat and also the last place we lose it from. And if you also have this kind of genetics, then you'll understand that we tend to have more of a skinny fat look. So skinnier arms and legs with a much bigger midsection. Now that's one type of genetics. However, there are also people who store more fat on their legs and less around the midsection, which is why when they lose fat, they become quite lean in the abdominal region, but then they have larger, more substantial legs. Everyone's different. There are individual differences, and body fat is mobilized differently. But I would say this is a minority of people. The majority store more fat around the stomach. Even 90% of the clients I've coached store more fat there. If this is you, then the only way to completely lose your lower belly is by getting down to a very low body fat percentage. If you're struggling with your lower belly, that most likely means it's the very last place fat will go from. You may have noticed you're quite lean in other areas. It's just the belly. And unfortunately, the reality is, if you want to get rid of it, you have to lose even more fat and get to around 12% body fat, or possibly even lower. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but after coaching hundreds of men to get in shape, it's the truth. You see, there are 4 phases of fat loss. The first phase is when you have both subcutaneous fat and visceral fat, which is the most dangerous type of fat. Visceral fat is the fat around your organs, and subcutaneous fat is the layer underneath your skin. The fat you can see around your belly is subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat you can't visibly see, as it covers the organs and sits deeper inside. Generally, people who are overweight, so over 25% body fat, have visceral fat. Luckily, visceral fat is the easiest to mobilize, so we can get rid of it earlier in the fat loss journey. As soon as we start training and creating a calorie deficit from our diet, we slowly start to remove the visceral fat. The next phase is removing majority of your subcutaneous fat. This is the fat you can see, and if you want to have an aesthetic body, then this fat needs to go. You want to focus on getting to around 15% body fat, but to do this, you need to start creating better habits that are implemented into your lifestyle and done consistently. For example, moving more, walking daily, training 2 to 3 times a week, and maintaining a consistent calorie deficit through nutrition. This will help you to lose the majority of your subcutaneous fat. But even after implementing these habits for quite a long period of time, you may still have that lower belly fat. So what do you actually need to do? Well, the next 2 phases are crucial. The first is getting to between 10 to 12% body fat. At this point, for most of you, your lower belly fat should be gone because you're reaching that very lean fitness model look. But getting to this point requires you to be stricter and your trade-offs become higher. For example, when I got to 15% body fat, it was relatively simple to maintain. I could eat out a couple of times a week, have a drink once a week if I wanted to, and I didn't have to be super strict with my calories. A few extra calories here and there didn't make much of a difference. So the trade-offs weren't too bad, but to get to the next stage, which was around 10% body fat, I had to become a lot more rigid with my routine. Barely eating out, no more drinking, walking every single day, and eating minimal processed foods. Mentally, it was harder, but physically, I looked much better. This was the point where I completely lost my lower belly fat, and you could see a full 6-pack. And I was pretty happy at this stage, and it wasn't to the point of obsession. I could still maintain the look and the lifestyle. So for most of you, you will need to reach this stage if you want your lower belly fat to disappear. That means being more active, tracking calories, especially in the beginning, to make sure you're in a calorie deficit or at most maintenance. Now, you don't have to completely cut out processed foods or alcohol. You just need to learn how to control and include them in your nutrition without sacrificing results. You have to develop a consistent habitual routine. Now, for a minority of you, you may have to get even leaner, so under 10% body fat and looking like an athlete. It really depends on your body fat distribution. But if you do have to get this lean, the trade-offs increase even more. Tracking becomes more meticulous, and the lifestyle may feel a little bit obsessive. That's the cost of achieving the look you really want. And I'm being completely honest here. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy, because I've been through all these stages, and I know it isn't. However, if you're currently in a calorie deficit, fairly active, and have been doing this for 15 to 20 weeks, but still have that lower belly fat, it's likely your metabolism has slowed down. To get out of this plateau, you want to return to maintenance calories for a couple of weeks. Eat a little bit more, give your body more energy and reset your metabolism, and then go back into a deficit for another round. This is called diet fatigue. It's when your body gets tired of dieting, making progress difficult. So what you want to do is take a diet break for a couple of weeks. Sometimes you need more than one fat loss phase to reach the physique that you want. It's normal because your body adapts. It gets tired of being in a calorie deficit for too long. You could lose muscle, strength, energy. So you need to give your body and your metabolism a small reset. That's why if you hit a plateau, don't give up, realize it's normal, and use this strategy to get back on track. Quick break, just to mention I'm launching a 90-day transformation challenge, which will start the first week of January 2026. In the challenge, you'll get the exact strategies that will help you to lose over 20 pounds of fat. They are the same strategies that I use with myself and my clients to achieve results like this. And the best part is, it's completely free. All you gotta do is click the school link below, and that will take you to my free school community. There's always a reason why you're stuck, and there's always a solution to keep progressing. Most people hover between 15 to 20% body fat and just need to tighten up their habits and routine to reach the next stage, or they've hit diet fatigue and need a reset. It's usually one of the two, but remember, the costs increase the leaner you get. You may need to be more active or tighten up your diet. So be honest with yourself about whether the additional trade-offs are worth losing that last bit of body fat. I know for some people it's not. They rather have more freedom and a little bit more fat because it's more sustainable for them. Others prefer the aesthetics over freedom. You just need to decide what you want and what's sustainable for you. And one thing to note, not everyone will end up with a full 6-pack. Some of you will only be able to have a 4-pack because it comes down to genetics. So no matter how lean you get, that's just how the body works. But if you want your abs to pop more, even at high body fat percentages, then you've got to train them, just like any other muscle group, using progressive overload and increasing the volume over time. For example, I can actually see my abs above 15% body fat because I train them often. Abs are made in the kitchen, but that's only half the story. So if you really want them to pop, you also need to train them. So losing your last bit of belly fat most likely requires you to go to the next level with your habits and your mentality, decreasing calories a little more, increasing output, and giving it time. Most people simply don't give it enough time, which is why they don't get the results. So give it time, be precise and consistent with your deficits, and you will see results. And you know what else will help you? Hitting that subscribe button and turning on the bell notifications, because I release a video every single week just like this and you don't want to miss them. And if you're someone that does cardio every single day but still struggles to lose fat, then this video right here may just help.